All right, we're live. We're back. What's up, everyone? This is Sunny Ray on the Sunny Ray Show. I've got Manuj Agawal joining me from Vancouver. Manuj, how you doing today?
Good, good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm having a great day. It's Friday. Got some plans with the family. Actually, tomorrow's the day where I get to be with the kids all day. So just
Nice,
planning that
nice.
out a little bit. I wanted to first of all thank you for coming on the show. I like to kick it off with just kind of going into the deep end and just asking you about uh, Tetra Noodle, what you're building there. We'll keep it under a paragraph or two, and then uh, I like to spend a lot of time on the person. I've got a bunch of questions queued up, so happy
Sure,
to
sure.
slow it down and then come back to this topic at the end of the interview. I do have a co-host. I should warn you that sometimes busts in, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, with the with Tetranoodle, what we are doing is we are sort of building a platform which merges human intelligence with artificial intelligence. A lot of people are focused on automation, productivity gains, AI agents, which honestly we do that as well, but we are really focused on the human behind the machine, on the operating the artificial intelligence. So we are really preparing the humans for this new AI age.
I like that. I like that. Yeah. I mean, yeah. For some reason, people are thinking about the profits, the intelligence and this and that, but they forget about the human. So interested in kind of double clicking on that. But I always find all these stories fall a bit flat unless there's a little bit of context. And so I love to start with the person. So I guess take me back to Punjab in the early '90s, before computers, before the internet reached your
Mhm.
town. What was your day to day actually like as a kid?
Yeah, I was a troublemaker. So got in a lot of trouble at school. Dropped out of college in the first 3 months because I got into wrong company, started doing drugs, um, and then wanted to figure out what to do with my life. And just by accident, got into computers and software, and I just like fell in love with it, and I knew that's what I was going to do. Another reason is like I'm an introvert, so talking to machines is much easier than talking to humans. So that's what my life was like. Before computers, it was like just as I said, like just making trouble with friends and whatnot, chasing girls, drinking, whatever. But after computers, most of the time was in the lab, just programming. You know, way into the late night. I used to bribe my fellow students to kind of yield their time because none of us we had like personal computers. We had to share computers in the lab, so we had allocated time slots, and I used to bribe them, with whatever I had to kind of give me their time slot.
So you started working in a factory at 15, forging giant nuts and bolts in 50
Mm.
degrees heat. So 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. I mean, so what, $2 a day? What was going through your head in those first months on the floor?
Well, as I said, like I was a trouble kid, so the factory belonged to my dad, and he's a self-made man, but very very strict, very very rigid. So he basically said, you're going to be working for me now, and I was one of many many people working in the factory, and basically whatever they did, I did. And so at that moment, I hated my life. Actually, that was one of the key motivations for me to kind of like find a different path in my life. But that time in the factory was instrumental because it showed me it sort of instilled this quality of resilience and hard work, and sort of just keep doing the same thing again and again until you get it perfect. And the precision required in the factory, like the nuts and bolts, they are quite uh, large in size, small size, all kinds of nuts and bolts, but each one of them had a precision of like few hundreds of the millimeter. Like no matter how many you produce, like 10,000 pieces a day, each one of them had to be within zero point zero 0.05 millimeter of specification. So that really taught me the power of quality control and coordination across multiple steps in a complex workflow to produce a quality output.
So you've said you stumbled across a business magazine on a lunch break and something flipped, right? So
Yeah.
can you walk me through that exact moment? What did you read and why did it, land the way it did?
Yeah, so I remember, these the magazine name was Business Today or something, and there was a story about these few stories. They were similar about people who grew up in a lower middle class family, and they found something that clicked for them. They found it, very. They found their passion basically, and then they followed their path to launch these large corporations which were well known across India at that time. And so when I read those stories, I was like, oh wow, okay. So I mean, anybody can become anything if they truly uh, find their passion and follow through on that. And this is a living proof in front of me. So when I look at the photos of these people, like, they didn't look any special, like they didn't have anything, like two like four sets of ears or anything like that. I mean, they were normal human beings. So just learning from their stories was quite inspirational. And I said, okay, if these guys can do it, then I should be able to do it. Like, maybe not launch a giant company like that, but at least I should be able to, like, get a hold of my life and do something better than what I was doing right now at that time.
And then your closest friend was heading to MIT while you were stuck in a kind of a basic Bachelor of
Yeah.
Commerce. How did you handle that gap without it crushing you?
I mean, it didn't crush me. Like, he was a brilliant student. Now the thing is, like, he used to borrow my notes. Interestingly enough, so we didn't have any competition as such. But I did. I was absolutely jealous of him that he got to go to US. And but I think all of us at that moment, we were trying to find our own paths. Like, all of my friends, somebody went to another city in India, somebody went abroad. So we were all kind of dispersing. And the only thing is, like, again, just being in contact with him and understanding how he thinks, what his abilities are, and knowing that his abilities got him a full scholarship at MIT, and he used to borrow my notes. That means I had some value, even though I was not, like, getting to go to MIT or anything. But I was just internally evaluating myself, like, okay, where do I stand, in grand scheme of things. And that helped me raise a little bit of my self-worth inside me, I guess.
And in 1995, a new computer institute opened in your town, but the tuition was more than a years of your factory salary. How did you actually make that work? And what did you discover that the first time you kind of like wrote code?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I won't say I did things which I'm proud of. Let's just put it that way. But I did what I had to do to, like, kind of make a little bit of extra money and save for the next year. The coding part was, I mean, that was the outcome I was looking. That was the result. That was the fruit of my labor, I guess. Because it's so much fun to code and create technologies, which I do even till today.
Is your wife's name Carl? You guys, oh,
No,
what's your
no.
wife's name? Sorry, I thought there was some story
She's
around.
my ex-wife now.
Oh,
So
your ex-wife. Okay, so I was gonna ask you something about the different religions and families against the
yeah,
marriage and
yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah.
So
Different religions for sure. Yeah.
you literally ran away with a suitcase. So what does
True.
that kind of love do to a young man's ambition?
Well, as I said, I've been a troublemaker all my life. So it's like, if I don't get my way, I kind of, like, find a way, if I can put it that way. So
Mm.
since she was from a different religion, and in India, especially at that time, 30 years ago, that was not an acceptable thing, especially in a small town. So I pleaded with my parents, her parents, blah blah blah, and nothing worked. So I said, okay, to heck with it. I'm just gonna take off and see what happens. And
And by the time you finished your master's at Punjab Technical University, what kind of life did you think you were going to build? And what was the gap between kind of that picture and reality?
The real life is very different than what you get in the university. But the good thing is I already tasted the real life before I went into university. So the university was like kind of boring for me, and because I already knew the real world is so much more complex and dynamic and all of that. So I was honestly more street smart than book smart.
And then you landed in Vancouver as a junior programmer, right? With no contacts, no network, no roadmap. And then the dot-com bust happens, right? So then 9/11 in New York. What did losing two jobs in quick succession actually teach you about control?
Yeah, no, it was four jobs that actually. So losing losing control is we all have this illusion of control, and we try to seek that control by changing our situation. And coming to Canada was perhaps in many ways uh, an attempt to take control back, thinking that okay, in a country like Canada, you have control. But it I was lucky enough that very quickly that illusion broke for me, and so uh, going with the flow of life is the best kind of control you can have.
Mm, mm. And in 2001, you founded Spider Communication, right? Which became Tetra Noodle. So why start a company in the middle of a market collapse instead of taking the safer kind of paycheck route?
Well, paychecks don't come voluntarily. Like, you can't, like, even today, now, a lot of people are getting laid off. It's the same story. So, when you have a situation like that, you can't just say, okay, I'm going to go for a paycheck. I think a smarter move is to take control of your life and say, okay, I'm going to market my skills instead of relying on one person. Uh, because in an economy like this, you may end up spending months and months and months looking for a job, and even when you find a job, it may not be the exact job because you are essentially at the mercy of the job market. So I especially today with the advent of AI and what is going to happen in the next few years here, if somebody is going through something like this, you are at a crossroads. And my honest opinion is, don't go for um, a paycheck at this moment. I mean, this may trigger some people, but I just honestly believe that to be true.
Well, that's one of the core themes of this show, right? So I'm glad you said it. You say you started noticing AI's real power around 2007. So what was a specific moment, like project or piece of code that flipped the switch from this is interesting tech to this is going to change everything?
Yeah, yeah. So, one of the things that most humans have this kind of like blind spot, that we tend to think that everybody's like us, everybody thinks like us, everybody's, sort of have the same belief system. So in 2005, I was involved in a project where we were building personalized curriculum for students. So, in every classroom, even today, let's say that you have 50 students, every student gets the same curriculum, but we know that some students are more advanced than others. So we built a platform back in 2005 which actually understood each student's proficiency in a topic and then customized the curriculum for each student. So when I realized that, it told me a few things. One, that if every student, every human being thinks differently, every student's if proficiency is different. So that opened up my mind towards how dynamic we are. And you there? Yeah.
Can you hear me?
And
Yeah, I'm here.
yeah, 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 yeah. And the other thing was obviously the power of AI to be able to understand humans and find these minute little patterns that we miss about ourselves, let alone other people. So these two realizations, helped me understand how dynamic the world is and how powerful this technology is to understand this dynamic world.
Interesting. So it's for AI patents, right? Most operators chase revenue, not patents. Like, well, why did invention matter to you? And Like what was the hardest one to ship?
It's not about revenue. I mean, revenue is a byproduct of innovation. So it's not that I chase anything. For me, it's more about finding difficult problems to solve and using new technologies, new ways of solving that problem. Because if we keep doing the same thing, the definition of insanity is like keep doing the same thing and expecting new results. That's not very exciting to me. So the patents are honestly like patents again, even the patents are a byproduct. When we innovate, some clients that I work with, this they wanted to protect their intellectual property and hence the patents. But in a world where we live in today, AI, um honestly, again, I will say these things, I say these bold statements and which may trigger people. Intellectual property is no longer even a thing anymore, because um, everybody can come up with new ideas. There is no moat other than yourself and your ability to continue to innovate.
I like that. And you do have a lot of bold statements. I'm like, you're very entertaining. You've been open about hitting depression and even suicidal thoughts right during your climb. What pulled you out, and how did meditation and spirituality stop being just soft topics and start being a system?
Yeah. So, I had a midlife crisis like many people do. So, I went to therapists and psychologists and those type of things. And um, they didn't quite help me. So what really helped me was meditation. So I will not put spirituality in the same thing, because like a lot of people have different ideas about that. But meditation itself is I will say, a neuroscience practice more than anything else. So the idea is that our life is built by us in a very mm, in a way that we don't understand, because 90% of our actions that we make, that we do in the world, they come from our subconscious mind. And that subconscious mind is full of negativity, full of biases, full of grudges against people, grudges against environment, government, what have you. Like everybody has all these problems. But with meditation, you can really start to become an observer of your subconscious mind, and you can start to directly connect the dots between the outcomes you are seeing in your life and the actions you are performing and how those actions are being influenced. So once you understand this chain of events, you can actively start to modify your belief system, modify your subconscious, modify your actions, and build the life that you really want to build.
Yeah, meditations, yeah, had a profound impact on my life as well. 4 months ago, you flew to India to trace the steps of Steve Jobs and Zuckerberg, right? To Neem
Mhm.
Karoli Baba's shrine. Well, what were you actually looking for, and did you find it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, as I said, we are living in a transformational time right now. A lot of people are trying to figure out what to do with AI. I believe I have the key to really adopt AI in a safe manner. And uh, when you speak a different language from 99% of the people, you really need some inspiration, some almost like some sort of a divine intervention to really bring this to the world. And Neem Karoli, if people don't know, he was a saint, that lived. I think he passed away in 1990s or so, but he was quite famous because of the type of people who visited him, including Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg. And the legend is like, they went to him before they founded their respective companies, Apple and Facebook and whatnot. So for me, it was multi-purpose. Like I obviously wanted to visit my family, but when you have some sort of a pull towards these places, they continue to nudge on you. And I have been delaying that visit for several years. But in December, it was like, I have the platform ready. I have scientific validation. I have a lot of case studies. So it was time to visit, and then see, what the next steps are. And honestly, like again, if I say, uh, exactly what happened there, people may or may not believe it. But it was a truly transformational experience. So if people are at their crossroads in their life and they truly want to, like, make an impact or figure out what is going on, I highly recommend that's a place to visit for sure.
I'll put it on the list. So Tetra Noodle has done $500 million in value, touched 10 million lives, right? Served Microsoft and IBM. Why pivot now to something called, AI Merge instead of just, scaling the consultancy?
Well, consultancy days are over, first of all. Information is everywhere. People don't need more information. People need systems. And the other thing is, people need easy systems. People are wanting fast results with as little effort as possible. The second thing that has happened is AI is a technology unlike any other technology. It's most people think, oh, this is just a way to do things faster, but the way this technology works is it actually is interacting with your mind and nervous system, and it is flooding the nervous system globally, individually, at a community level, at a national level, with cortisol, with anxiety, with stress, and you can see the end result of that in the world right now. And not a lot of people can wrap their head around it. So for me, it's important. I mean, honestly, AI Merge came out of my own need to protect myself from what is happening in the world. I had a in 2020, a huge, like, the whole world was under lockdown, so we were under a lot of pressure ourselves, and I went through a very contentious divorce at that time. So it was a quite stressful time, from 2020 to 2024. So this was an attempt for me to kind of build something to protect myself um, from almost collapsing under stress. But as I started to develop it, as I started to share it with other people, the kind of transformations they've had in their life and their business, it truly kind of like became something that I believe is one of the few ways to really adopt this technology in a safe manner. Um, so that's what it is. Like, it is something that is transformational, and helps people, almost like a vacuum cleaner will clean the dust out of your carpet. It is designed to clean the all the negativity from your nervous system and really help you truly see who you are as a human being.
So your core thesis is that you can't run, high voltage software on low voltage biological hardware, right? Can you unpack that for the founders listening? Like, because, most of them are running on caffeine and cortisol right now.
Correct. So, think of your mind, your brain. I think even medically, it has been proven that the brain consumes about 25 watts of electricity or something along the in energy or something like that, right? Where it's a small organ. So now think of a 100-watt bulb or 60-watt bulb, and you plug it into a nuclear power station. What is going to happen to that bulb? It's going to blow up in a few seconds or milliseconds. And now your nervous system, your brain has limited capacity to ingest data or stimulus. And since the advent of the internet and electronics, we have been exponentially creating more and more and more data, but we haven't seen anything yet, because with AI, this data is going to just explode exponentially. So this is what is going to flood the human nervous system, and that is exactly what people are seeing in their behavior as they frantically run on caffeine and cortisol and whatnot. That's a direct result. So unless and until you reverse that trend, it is actually going to get worse and worse.
So AI Merge claims to find the bugs in your nervous system the way you debug, let's say, an operating system, right? And it's been reviewed now in the Mensa Research Journal. What does the actual protocol look like for like a leader who's signing up?
Yeah, the protocol is simple. We basically first collect data about the logical. So the human mind has two aspects: the logical mind and the subconscious or emotional mind. So we collect data based on our own research on both aspects of your mind. And then what we do is we create a custom representation of your mind using artificial intelligence. So think of it as a a super intelligent version of your own mind that thinks like you, processes emotions like you. And it's basically just a chatbot if you can just interact with it as a chatbot, but it is continuously monitoring your language, your tone, your the way that you're expressing your thoughts, and finding those gaps in your nervous system state. And rather than being uh, being validating and acting like a fanboy, validating all your belief systems, that's what today's AI chatbots are doing. It is actually designed to push you towards your higher level purpose, higher level identity shifts that will really kind of uh, remove that cortisol that we are talking about and help you to move forward in your life in an easy way, in a fast way, in a very efficient way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And you
Mm.
also measure something called a unique potential score, right? The percentage of capacity a person has blocked. What's the average score you see across the executives you work with, and what's it costing them?
Oh, I mean, it's very low actually. Like this is something that you know. Uh, I will say people are operating at 25 to 30% of their capacity, even lower in many cases. What is costing them? What is costing them is their health, their relationships, their physical well-being, um, because they are paying a humongous price for a future that they are hoping that they will build by spending or almost like sacrificing their present right now.
So founders implement every AI tool, right? Build every workflow, and friction goes usually up, not down. So you say that the human running the system is the bottleneck. How do you sell nervous system work to a CEO who only believes in spreadsheets?
Yeah. See, nervous system, like this is where people, when they ask me what is underneath the covers, when you open the hood, um, the automobile has many complex parts, but you never go to the auto dealer and say, okay, I need this type of an engine with this kind of uh, gear system. You just say, I want this type of a car. So when we sell this platform, it's not about nervous system, it's not about anything else, but uh, only about the results. What are the results are you looking to produce in your organization? Have you tried everything? Okay, if you are satisfied with the results with whatever methods you are using, awesome. We are not a good match. But if you are stuck somewhere, you have tried everything and you don't know what is going on, you have used all the AI tools under the sun, but you still cannot move forward. In fact, things are getting harder and more complex, because industry stats prove it, like 80 to 90% of the AI projects are failing, not producing any ROI, whereas we have 100% success rate. So we just basically have a filtering system and say, okay, if do you want to stay, so the world is going to be now divided between two, haves and have-nots. The poverty line is no longer money. The poverty line is going to be AI. So above the AI poverty line, there will be people who understand how to use it in a way that is coherent with them and their biology. Below that, it will be people who are using it against their biology. So we just try to ask a few questions and say, okay, where do you want to be, above the poverty line or below the poverty line? And that's our filter.
You're essentially sitting at the intersection of AI, neuroscience, and 30 years of building software. So where do you see the next 5 years going, especially as agents start replacing whole functions?
Mhm. There's going to be quite a disruption in the world. A lot of what is coming, nobody can predict. Nobody can predict it, no matter what they say. But I can tell you that there's going to be sharp rise in unemployment. There's going to be the world is going to be quite different than what we look like today. I think very soon, maybe in the next decade or so, driving by human beings on the roads will be made illegal. There's going to be, you know, education system will need to be kind of overhauled, because right now we are focused on remembering facts, which is not going to be useful or valuable anymore. So I can go on and on and on about every industry, but rest assured there is going to be quite a disruption coming, and that is another reason why you need to really fortify your biology to deal with everything that is happening, rather than pushing for more AI agents, which is honestly, it's a losing battle, because in a couple, like maybe in a couple of years, all these agents, basically you will not need to do any agent, because AI itself is going to be able to create its own agents and whatnot.
So if a 15-year-old kid is listening to this episode in a small town somewhere with, $2 a day and no roadmap, what's the one thing you want them to take away from your story?
I will say, talk to more people, experience life. If you can afford it, go travel, even if it's like next town over. uh, the real value in the world will not be your intellect anymore. The real value will be your communication skills and your ability to kind of understand other human beings, empathize with them, connect the dots, understand your environment. That's what is going to be more useful.
So Manuj, where do people learn about you? How do they tap into your stream of consciousness? Do you have a podcast, I think?
Yeah, I have a podcast. It's called Bootstrapping Your Dreams Show. Check it out. But honestly, the best thing I can offer right now is go to aimerge.live and experience a little bit of what we are talking about, because the technology that we are building is quite powerful. People ask me how it works and whatnot, and I just tell them it's not something to understand, it is something to feel. So go to aimerge.live, feel what this technology feels like, and then you will be able to kind of understand what I'm talking about.
Cool, man. Well, you're very entertaining, great speaker. You've got a beautiful story and very inspirational. Thank you, Manuj, and thank you. Wow, I see almost 25 people are listening to us. Thank you for tuning in, and for everyone else in the future. I guess until next time. Yeah, Manuj, hang around for 1 minute. I'll bring this call to an end.